Today we're going to look at replacing the slide door rollers on Honda Odyssey.
Let the youngest one, she's actually so I'm like this, and it's not again, right?
Here's the tools we'll be using. We have a flat blade screwdriver, number 2 Phillips screwdriver, needle nose pliers, a hammer, a couple ratchets with a 10mm and 12mm socket, and a cordless drill driver. And to support the door once we take it off, a small box. With the door slightly open, turn off the power to the automatic doors. First step is to remove the rear tail lights. So using the flat blade screwdriver, just insert it in the caps to cover the screws. Twist slightly and it'll pry open. You can take them out with your fingers. This exposes the 2 screws holding it, and you remove those with your drill driver and your socket. Once the screws are removed, pull gently on the light and bang with your other hand. Pull it directly back to remove it. This exposes the 10mm rear bolt that holds on the back of the roller cover. Looking in from the front with the slide door open, you can see under the rail there is a screw that needs to be removed. This holds on the front of the roller cover. Using a long bit on the drill, I remove the screw and then reach in with a pair of needle nose pliers and take it out. To remove the cover, then place a hand on each end, slide it forward firmly but gently, and it will come off the tabs. Next, we want to remove the roller from the door. If you look in the back of the open door, you can see there's 2 12mm bolts attaching the roller to the door itself. Using a ratchet and a small socket, 12mm, reach in and loosen the bolts. Once they're backed off far enough, it can be turned out by hand. Remove one bolt entirely and then the other. Be sure that the door is supported underneath so that when the second bolt is removed, the door does not fall. As you can see here, when this bolt is removed, you'll see the door falls just slightly onto the box that I have holding it up. This is how the roller looks once the bolts have been removed from the door. Grasp hold of the roller assembly and slide it back so it is free and clear of the door and you can work on it. Gently grab it and pull it along, and it should pull the cables along with it to work the door motor. You can see how loose this is. You can tell it is worn. If you lift up on the outer portion and pull down on the inner, you can remove it as seen. Here we have the 2 pins that hold the rollers, and the top 2 rollers, the nylon parts are disintegrated and gone completely. On the end of each cable there is a cam. The cam must be turned 90 degrees so the cable can come out the slot in the back side of the roller assembly. The cables will be tight, so use needle nose pliers to grasp the cable and pull it so that the cam can be turned. As you can see here, and the second one is much easier, I turn it 90 degrees, the cable comes out through the slot and the cam falls freely. Here you can see the old and new parts side by side, this being the new and obviously this being the old. You can see the top 2 rollers on the new one have a nylon roller on top of the pins, and on the old one the nylon roller is completely disintegrated and gone. The vertical roller is still in good shape, which would allow the door to move. The horizontal rollers are what's gone. We're going to have to remove this pin and use the back side of this assembly on the new part. Take the old assembly on its side and using the flat blade screwdriver, carefully pry open the circlip holding in the pin which attaches the male and female parts of this roller assembly. Don't lose this circlip as it'll have to be reused. With the circlip removed, slide the old pin out. Separate the male and female parts of the roller assembly, reinsert the pin, and reinsert the circlip as shown here. Now you can see we have the old male part of the roller and the new female part at the front with the circlip reinstalled. Take the newly completed roller assembly back to the van and reinsert the cables using the cams through the slots in the reverse order as taken apart. As you can see here, the cam slides up into place and the cable goes through the slot. Push it gently and then turn the cable 90 degrees so that it will slide into place. Be sure the cam sits all the way into place, as there's a hole in the top it has to go right into. It has to sit straight. There it is, set fully in place. The second one will be more difficult because the cables are tight. You have to stretch them with the needle nose pliers to make them reach. It takes a little bit of effort and a few minutes, but it's doable. Once both cams are in place, gently rest the roller assembly against the side of the van. If you wish, you can use a shop cloth or towel to make sure you don't scratch your vehicle, but if you're gentle, it's not going to hurt anything. So here you can see we have the new roller assembly with both cams and cables in place. It's ready to be installed back in the vehicle. Hold it in your hand, lift it up into place. Lift up on the outer portion, gently tucking the top rollers in under the rail, and then let the bottom wheel snap into place. Rest it there until we slide it into where it should go with the door and bolt it back in. Gently slide it along in behind the door, and we're ready to bolt it back into place. Take the two long 12mm head bolts that you removed to take the roller assembly off of the door and hand start them back in. It could be a little difficult because, as I showed you, the door dropped a wee bit once we removed these two bolts, so you may have to lift up slightly on the door to get them to start. Once they're started, finger tight a few threads each, then we can go to the ratchet. As you can see here, both are threaded a few threads each now by finger tightening. I'll get the 12mm ratchet and tighten them up manually. And here you can see the bolts are tightened up completely and ready to be used. I'll test the new rollers by sliding the door manually back and forth a couple of times just to make sure they work before I finish reassembly. Next, we'll reinstall the slide door cover. Here are the 3 square black tabs that hold the slide door roller cover on. And here inside the slide door roller cover, you can see the 3 keyhole tabs or hole slots where the tabs slide into. I angle the top of the cover out so I can see that the tabs are going to line up. I line up the tabs, roll in the top of the cover so they're in place, push in firmly and slide back. This will hold the slide door roller cover in place. Tug on both ends to make sure that all 3 tabs caught. Next, reinstall the 10mm rear bolt that holds the slide door roller cover on. This is the one that was located in behind the taillight. Next, install the front screw on the roller cover. First, make sure that the hole in the roller cover lines up with the hole in the body. Next, put the screw on a long bit and using either a manual screwdriver or your drill, reach in, insert the screw and tighten it. It shouldn't be very tight, I just hand tighten it myself. Use of a magnetic bit is really helpful here. Here you can see finishing it up, just snug it up hand tight. Next we want to reinstall the rear tail light. To hold the tail light in place while the screws are installed, this tab will slide into this hole in the plug in the body. When you're setting the light in place, you want to make sure that this tab here lines up with the bracket on the body here, and that this tab will line up with the hole in the body right up here. Don't break these off, you got to make sure they're lined up before you install it. Across the taillight, line up those 2 tabs that were mentioned. Once you have them lined up perfectly, you should just take a gentle smack to set them in place. Once they're in place, they'll feel pretty firm and snug. Next, you want to reinstall the 2 bolts that hold in the rear tail light. Using a cordless drill and a Phillips bit, I install these 2 bolts. The torque isn't very high on them, probably about 8 to 10 Newton meters at most, so I turn down the setting on the gun so it doesn't over tighten and crack the plastic. I line up the holes and make sure that they're lined up properly. Insert the screw on the gun and then just tighten it in. After the bottom one's done, repeat for the top one. After the screws are both in, reinstall the caps that cover the screws. The tab will slide up into place and then push in the bottom to snap it in. Repeat for the bottom hole. Finally, I'll do a test, and as you can see, there's no binding or stuttering or hesitation. Replacing the roller has fixed the problem. So for about $40 or $50 for a part and about half hour of your time, low difficulty, you can save yourself a couple $100 on what would probably cost a repair shop to get this fixed. I hope this has helped. Good luck.